Hello, dear sisters. Thank you so much for tuning in to Diving Deep with Denise. This is a beautiful community, a sisterhood. It's by women for women, where we get to have raw and authentic conversations of all things of what it is to be embodied as a woman. We'll talk about our pain, our struggles, definitely our journey to healing and our triumphs. And for today, I have an amazing guest. I'm so happy to have her with me. Her name is Lydia Ignacio. And boy, do we have some history, because
Yeah.
Lydia and I met each other about 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And fast forward, we stayed connected somehow through Facebook. And lo and behold,
Right.
Lydia is a grown woman now with her own child, right? Who
Yes.
just celebrated 2 years old.
That's right.
That's
That's right.
amazing. And she has her own thing going on. I was just like truly inspired by the work that you've been doing with Reaching
Thank you.
Heights, and to be able to invite a fellow sister who cares so much about empowering other women and really helping reach out and educate other women on just how to own our power and how to
Right.
stand in that and to reach our potential. I just, for me, it's like, okay, sisters unite, we have to come
That's
together.
right. That's right.
Um, but for everyone out there that's listening to Diving Deep with Denise, please, like, tell me, what have you been doing the past 25 years? Sort of tell us about your journey. How did you get here? What's happened? What's been going on?
Well, 25 years is a long time, right? I mean,
Yeah.
25 years is a whole lifetime, and definitely a lot has gone on, a lot of growth. A lot of growth really has really endured through all of it. I mean, what have I done? I've learned about myself. I learned trial and error. I've put myself out there. I'm somebody that definitely is adventurous, and I mean that in every sense of what it means. I've always been somebody that likes to explore, and think about, I can say that I'm not timid in putting myself out there, and because I have learned early on that life is it's about experiences, and so really I've tried to have as many experiences as possible. Some of them have been good, some of them have been terrible, right? And life definitely gives you that in order to learn. But in the last 25 years, I really found myself. And what I found was being somebody, I came from a background that truly was, I'm always a positive person. So it's hard to say. See, for me, when I tell my story, I don't see it as something that has been negative or sad, but
Yeah.
that's because I'm a positive person. And I learned that only after telling my story. I
Yeah.
learned that I have, it's been after people's reactions to my story that it's like, wow, how have you been through that? That I really understood the magnitude of what I've been through, because I really didn't actually understand it, because my spirit is one that is very positive, always believing in the better, in the good. And so because that's my spirit, I haven't really seen that my struggles have been so bad. But when I tell my stories and I look back on them, I say, wow, I really been through some horrible stuff, and I really persevered. And that what that made me come to is really wanting to help others to kind of see the same kind of positive light. Life is hard,
Oh, yeah.
period.
Yeah.
Like, life is very much bittersweet. And I feel that I've been privileged, even though I've gone through a lot of pains that, in the subsequent series we will get into, because these are pains that can be shameful, things that really like are dark. can be dark, you know, things that people maybe don't talk about, or really even understand, even myself. You know, there's
Yeah.
things that at first I pushed back so down deep because they were so horrific when I talk about them. And like I say, I didn't realize this once I talked about them. Then I realized how horrific the things that I've gone through are, and that they're not normal. You know, it's only been through therapy that I've actually understood that the things that I've gone through are not normal. But to me, they were normal because they were my reality. And there were things that I had to persevere. So in 25 years, and I discovered myself, but more than anything, I discovered my cause. I discovered that I wanted to help people, because I saw that I've been through what I've been through, yet I've always been positive. Yet I've always had, and granted, I've had as much good as I've had bad. And that's why I've been able to maintain a positive equilibrium, because I can't take that away. You know, the good things that I've had in my life, I can't, you know, other people may not have had that, you know, and so maybe they haven't been able to reach that kind of balance or that kind of self-discovery because they haven't had the same kind of positive to balance the bad. And but that created my mission. That created my mission because I, from that, a birth this need to make others feel good, feel special, feel hopeful. You know, it was the fact that I went through these things, but because I had this natural God-given, I mean, these things that God gave me, because I, again, when I was going through it, I understand them, you know. I mean, I say God because I'm very faithful and religious, but for some other people, you know, I'm very non-secular. It's not about religion for me. It's about spirituality. It's about understanding that we are a part of something bigger, that we are connected, all of us, you know, and so that's where it comes from, is that message, is that just as me or you or anybody else has gone through things and has persevered them, anybody can. And just as they have gifts and love and belief in themselves, because that's what it comes to, anybody can. And that's where my mission was birthed, is the fact that I really wanted to make other women, other beings, not just women, but other beings feel that kind of power. And that's where I go to having your own power. You know, we all have our own power, and that power comes from within, from believing in yourself, from believing that no matter what the circumstances have brought upon you, you are who you are and you're worth not something, but everything. We, each of us, are everything. We make up this universe. And so with that comes all the power of the universe. We can create and we can destroy, and we have the power to build ourselves up from the ashes. And that is what Reaching Heights is about. It's a phoenix. It's about rising from the ashes. And that's what Reaching Heights, the company that I built, it really came from, you know, all the trying to make some modalities. You know, I believe in very much about healing, and I believe about a mother healing that comes from the earth. So that's very much, you know, in different religions, different cultures, they call it different. Curandera, or, you know, in Spanish, or, you know, shaman in Indian folk, or, you know, they call it very different things in so many different kind of cultures, throughout cultures. But it's about the earth. It's coming from the earth. It's the power that we embody that's in us. I mean, especially we as women, we create life. We
Yeah.
create life. We give birth to life. I mean, if that doesn't, you know, it has become something in our culture, I mean, in life and society, that it's been taken so over granted. But giving life is a big deal.
Yeah.
And that really shows off all of our power. I mean, we can muster, that is manifestation. That's what
Yes,
that is.
truly.
That is manifestation.
Yeah.
I mean, to take the love of two individuals, even in the moment, because I know that love, or maybe people don't mean to like have a child or whatever the case is. But guess what? That whatever you want to call it, that momentum, that accident, that minute, that whatever creation you made, it was at a moment where you were in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, sometimes it could be out of very negative things, but it created love. It created this being that can be love, because everybody has a capacity. Even out of coming out of something negative, it could be this being that saves the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could be this being that just takes life of his own and completely becomes the next president.
Yes, that is so true. That is
You
so
know,
true.
I mean, that is powerful. And that
Yeah.
is our power. And so in the 25 years so far, I've learned myself. I've learned what I want to do. I've risen from the ashes as a phoenix, as I say, as my reaching heights is. It's rising off of the ashes. And, there have been bad things, but my being has flourished because of them.
Well,
And I want to
thank
give that
you.
to the world.
Thank you so much, Lydia. I mean, I can feel your vibe. I can feel your optimism, your positivity, your just high vibe, high energy, which is so beautiful. And it's so, for me, so reminiscent of how I remembered you as a little girl
Thank
25
you.
years ago. Um, just like so vibrant, so full of life, sort of like the center of attention, just great energy, great positivity, always smiling, always happy. And it's so beautiful to still see that in you. Um, you've taken us through so many things, not only through really getting to know yourself, to rising from the ashes, going through your own trials and tribulations, and then being inspired to pay it forward and to help others.
Right.
And you talked also about the power and the miracle and the love of bringing life into this world. So I kind of want to dive in deeper to some of those things. If
Yes.
you care, what you feel comfortable in sharing, what are some of those tribulations and sort of that got you at the lowest points in your life?
I'm going to be very real with you, Denise, because this is diving deep. And I'm going to be very real. Things that I haven't said before, even in my own practice. I was definitely molested by my grandfather at an early age. And these are things that impacted me in a very strong way, obviously, because it really blurred the way that I saw relationships and the way I saw sex and love, right? So it impacted me strongly in ways that I wasn't aware of, right? In a lot of ways. That still till this day, even if I've progressed, I'm still working through.
Yeah.
Because those things, really, the thing is that those things become so embedded in you that you don't realize. And so with that was the start of a kind of negative tape or malfunctioning way of relating to others, especially men, right? And so because of that, I've had relationships after relationships that maybe have been abusive in nature, or have been in ways that I expose myself or give myself in ways that aren't deserving, right? And I think that women can relate to that, definitely, just giving more of themselves than they should, and definitely to the wrong people, because they didn't have the best of interest, but in your best interest in mind. And so I started with a lot of that. And the thing is that, today and age is that I'm realizing how much it impacted me. I was just going through life without really understanding it. And so what it brought was a lot of like promiscuity, it brought a lot of, unhealthy habits, and all of that really was just adding to the kind of negative reel of unworthiness, right? Because I think that when something like that happens to you, you feel broken. somehow. You feel tainted. And that's always how I felt. I felt tainted. I felt like I had a taint. I was tainted. I was damaged. I was damaged goods, right?
I
And
hear you.
when you feel that you're damaged goods, you behave like you're damaged goods. So you put yourself in situations that aren't the best, aren't deserving of you and the gifts that you have and the power that you have and the light that you have. You give yourself to lower level energies, and you expose yourself at lower level energies, energetic playing field, because at the end of the day, you feel unworthy. you
Yeah.
know at the end of the day, no matter how positive maybe I have been or things like that, the truth of the matter lied that after I discovered what happened to me, because I didn't know it then. I didn't know it when it happened. I didn't know it after. It was until later on that I understood that what happened to me, or the experiences that happened to me, were bad. You understand? When I went through that experience, I didn't know that it was bad, what was going on. I was very young. I was a child. It was something that was I was taken. Something was taken from me. And what was taken from me was my innocence. What was taken from me was my sense of worth and value before I had a chance to even know what those things were. And I had to understand that after. And so what that did to me was think me unworthy, because I felt tainted, I felt damaged. And so I behaved as such. I gave my love freely where it wasn't deserving. I gave myself, I put myself in situations where I wasn't deserving. And when you say deserving, is think of like, and this is in this plane, in this reality, think of a queen or high priestess where you want the best for them, or right. And that's when I think about deserving. And I think that we all are. It's not just some are and some aren't. No, we all are. And it's just about tapping into and understanding to demand that of the world for yourself. And that's the key, right?
Yes.
Demanding that of the world for yourself. You see, respect, you have to demand respect. It is not just going to be given to you. It's not. Because as much as possible, people will take advantage and treat you however they need to treat you in order to make their selves feel good, or whatever the case is, right? In order to feel high, people need to, or people that don't understand or aren't living in their power, people feel that in order to get high, they need somebody low,
To be low. Correct.
right?
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily the truth, because we could all be high and be high. We could
Yes.
all be high priestess. We could all be the light beings that we are, without anybody being low. There's a choice between working in a lower vibration or working on a higher vibration. It's a choice. It's not that anybody's deserving of one or the other.
Yeah.
It's a choice. And so I pause there because it's a choice. We can all choose to vibrate at a higher vibration. We could all choose to claim our power and say, no, I am deserving. And you know what? The truth is that nobody does that for us but ourselves. Only we can do that. Not the people around us. People around us will treat us as we set the tone. So
Correct.
if you set the tone to be treated in lower vibration, that's what people will treat you as. Now, if
Yes.
you set the tone to be treated at a higher standard, higher vibration, that's where you will be treated at. So it's all about you and how you think about yourself. And so I wasn't in a place where I thought it, like, I didn't realize this then, but subconsciously, because I felt damaged subconsciously, I didn't treat myself well. I didn't vibrate at a high vibration. I was vibrating at a low vibration. I was allowing myself to be handled at a low vibration throughout most of my youth. And so what does that look like? That looked like me doing things that weren't conducive to myself. No, promiscuity, out of control drinking, maybe, smoking pot, perhaps, things that would numb myself, things that would not make me feel, because I felt too much. And so that's the journey So when I say I understand, folks, I do, because I have vibrated at a lower vibration. So I understand what it is to feel and condemn yourself. I understand what it is, because the truth is that the world isn't the one that condemns you. It is
Yeah,
yourself.
we do that. In fact, one of the things that I was pondering on earlier before we got on for the podcast was the self-limiting beliefs that we have. And it's
Absolutely.
something that comes up for me over and over and over again, because it's a lifelong thing. That
Absolutely.
inner critic begins somewhere in our childhood, and that critic is
Absolutely.
usually the voice of another person, the voice of a parent. It could be a father, it could be a mother, it could be someone of influence.
Right.
Um, and we take that on and we carry that on through our lives. And when things don't go our way, or when we feel out of control, or even when we are faced with an opportunity to really push against our edges, that inner critic is there. The inner critic is
Absolutely.
telling us that we're not enough, that we are not worthy,
Absolutely.
punishing us of, you're wrong, that wasn't right, all these other
Absolutely.
things. And it's a work. It takes practice to be
Yes.
able to quiet that inner critic,
Absolutely.
and to be able to stand in our power, to be able to fight against it, and to argue against the things that we say to ourselves. And really, that is what limits us. that
Absolutely.
that limits us from growing, from expanding, from standing in the fullness of our power, to from standing in the fullness of our truth. Because now it's the fear coming in. Well, if I am myself, I'm going to be judged. If I am myself,
Yes.
if I am authentic, people
And
are not
if
going to
if
like
I may
me.
say a note on that, right?
Yes.
Because I want to go back to saying, like, there were things that I um outlined, like promiscuity and things like that. It's not about the act, it's about the thought behind it, right? Exactly what we're talking about. There's a problem when you're promiscuous and you're not doing it in a healthy way, or in a way that is deserving of your power. Being a free spirit and having sex. And I want to make this clear, because I think that women are shamed a lot for this. It's not that going out there and having experiences is bad. It's
Yeah.
about how you're doing it and who you're
Yeah.
doing it with,
The
right?
double standard, right? That
Right,
society, it's
right.
like, if you're a guy doing it,
It's
oh,
okay.
you're a stud, you
Right.
whatever.
So it's not about that you're doing it.
Yeah.
It's about the energy behind it.
Yeah.
Do you know why you're doing it? I wasn't doing it from a good place. I was doing it of a place that I felt unworthy. Now, me taking ownership of my sexuality is different, right? Now we're talking about something different. Taking ownership of your sexuality, you're free to do as much and who you want without judgment, because that, again, to what you spoke to, we are our own judge and juror. And so it's about how you feel about what you're doing. So if you feel that something's correct, then it's correct. If you feel that something's not correct, then it's not. So, that's when it goes into tapping into yourself, which is a lot of what I do at first, a lot of the inner work. Because, no matter what, we could be 30, 40, 45, 50, and not even know ourselves really, or know what we really want, or know what we'd really care about, or know our own opinions. Because we are shaped so often, we're shaped by the opinions of others,
Yes.
by what other people deem appropriate or not. A good example, I'll tell you that with sexuality, and even my own mother. My own mother has a completely different idea about sexuality and free sex than I do. So I can either allow myself to be held by the scrutiny, her scrutiny, and her opinion, right? Where having sex is bad, or having multiple partners, or whatever the case may be, or I can hold myself to my own, whereas I don't really feel that that's bad, right? And so here we go back to It's about how you feel about something. You know, and some will agree, some will not. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because it's not about what society says or what's been approved or unapproved. It's about how you feel about yourself. It's about your opinion of yourself and about the things that you do. And that's really, at the end of the day, is, you know, you have to be real with yourself about that. Do you consider it bad or not?
Yeah.
Do you consider it bad or not? Not what your mom or your ancestors or society or whatever. Do you? Just like the double standard, right? Do you as a woman feel that it is bad or not? Because the world is judging you based on a double standard. They're judging you. But do you agree with it?
Right.
Because if you do not agree with it, amen, continue on, sister.
Yeah.
But if you do agree with it, then you must change your behavior accordingly. Why? Because you're the one that has to feel good about yourself. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
you are the one that has to feel good about yourself. When you look at yourself in the mirror in the morning when you're brushing your teeth, you have to feel good about who is reflecting back at you.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not your brother, it's not your mother, it's not your father, it's not your husband, it's not anybody, but you.
Yes,
That's how
yes.
you claim your power. You say, you know what? F whatever people say. I think this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we're not aware of that. We let ourselves get just completely enveloped in other people's opinions, where we no longer understand or know how to differentiate our own against others.
Yeah.
And that's where the work starts at first. Yourself. Knowing yourself, knowing your capacities, knowing your limits, knowing what you deem appropriate or not, and starting there. Because true happiness is only found within yourself.
Beautiful. I think that that's powerful there, and really where the work starts, and it's with ourselves and in doing our inner work. Without doing our inner work, we truly, number one, don't know ourselves, don't have
Absolutely.
the clarity that we require in order
Absolutely.
to make decisions and to make choices from the person I,
Exactly.
versus what others may think or what others
It
may
gets so
say or
muddy.
what
It gets
I've
so
been
muddy.
told or with this person opinionated or whatever that case may be. That clarity comes from within and doing that inner work.
Absolutely. And that is really the first thing that I work with people is
Yeah.
really tapping into themselves.
Yeah.
In order to tap into your power, you need to tap into yourself. You need to figure out yourself. And most of us don't know ourselves. We go our whole lives without really understanding ourselves, what we like, what we really feel about certain things, because we just subscribe to a society and to a culture, and we just subscribe because this is what we've been taught and this is what we're molded into.
Yeah.
That most of us don't really get to know ourselves.
We don't question. And
We don't.
what we need to do is
What do
question
you
more.
feel about it?
Yeah.
What do you feel about certain things,
Yeah.
right? What do you feel about what is being told to you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I want to take a moment. I would be remiss if I didn't pause for a moment to really thank you for sharing such a painful and dark, time in your life, and want to acknowledge how difficult it may have been to be able to process that, and to now, as a survivor, rise from the ashes as you
Right.
have. And at the same time, want to share sentiment with you, almost of deep sadness, because
Yeah.
it seems that there are so many women that have experienced
Exactly.
some sexual trauma in their earlier
Exactly.
years by a trusted person.
Right.
No, I know for me, I've shared with, our community my own sexual abuse by my stepdad when I was
Right.
younger that led me down very similar behaviors that you talked about. In fact, much of what you said with promiscuity and being in a low vibration and self-sabotaging behaviors and feeling
Yes.
unworthy are things that really resonated with me.
Right.
And I think this is giving it a voice. It's giving it a
Right.
voice because I think that as women, we've been silent for too long. And for
Right.
many of us, and this, believe it or not, crosses all cultures, barriers
Right.
of cultures, of
Absolutely.
race, of ethnicity. But for women, many of us, we are told to be silent.
Absolutely.
And it's almost like we are shamed. We're not
Absolutely.
validated. We are not
Absolutely.
acknowledged. Our pain is not
Absolutely.
validated. It's not acknowledged. And so
Absolutely.
what we do with it is that we repress it. We
Yes.
pretend that it doesn't, that it
Absolutely.
didn't happen. And
Exactly. Or that it was
uh,
my fault, right? Because that's what happens. Is that they make us feel like what happened was your fault. Or you speaking out is you bringing shame. Not the act itself,
yeah,
but you speaking out is the shame. Not the fact that somebody did this to you, but that you speaking out is bringing shame. And that's what most women experience with something like that. You know what I mean? You're the one that's wrong for saying that it happened. Not that it happened, but that you're
yeah,
saying that it happened. And that is where it lies. And this is learned behavior. This is learned behavior. It is passed down because it's shameful.
it
So
is.
people rather do what's easy than what's hard, right? It's hard to deal with it dead on and cause the riffle in your family that it would if you actually acknowledged it. Rather, if you keep it quiet or say it's your fault and force it to just under the rug, that's a lot easier. That's a lot easier. It's a
Yeah,
lot easier to do that.
yeah. And for
But where does
me,
that leave the victim? Where does that leave the victim?
yeah, just perpetuating this idea that we're not worth anything,
Exactly. Exactly.
continuing to perpetuate this, you know, I I'm not worth anything. I don't matter, you know.
Exactly.
I'm unseen, I'm unheard. What I have to say doesn't
Exactly.
matter. Um, and for me, what I have seen and what I've made, part of my mission in this as well, part of through my own healing journey was recognizing that this is an ancestral wound,
Right.
that my own mother suffered trauma in her life,
Right.
that my own mother's mother suffered sexual trauma in her own life.
Right. Right.
And we've continued on to the point where, one of my daughters has also suffered sexual trauma. And I would even say, not just one, but several of my daughters have experienced some sexual trauma. And it's like part of my work is being able to heal this from our past and into our
Right.
future, so that future generations are not suffering in this way, so that
Well, I mean, that's what
future
happens, right?
generations, right?
That's what happens. If you fix it now, guess what will
Yes.
happen? It will never happen again.
Yeah.
And that's how you redeem everything that has happened.
Yeah.
That's how you give voice to all the hurts and all the past trauma that has happened. That's how you give it voice. Is that you declare by acknowledging it and by dealing with it appropriately, you say this will never happen again. It will not happen to my grandchild. It will not happen to the child after that, because now my grandchild and the child after that will know that it is not okay. And that if it happens, there is consequences. They're not the problem. They are not the problem, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you restore healing to your ancestors, to all those women that suffered before you. You do it by giving them voice, by saying no more.
Yeah.
No more will this happen to another grandchild, to another generation. No more. By
Yeah.
saying no more is how you redeem everything that has passed.
Yeah.
But you can only do that by being strong enough, because it takes courage. It takes you being brave in one generation. It takes courage to say, you know what? Because people will look at you certain ways, people within your family, people outside of it, people will look at you. And that's been your fear all along, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that the fear all along? The fear all along is that if people found out, they will know that you're damaged goods. And that's been the fear all along. They didn't know. Nobody knew that this happened to you. Nobody knew. You knew. But you felt that if people found out, they will look at you as damaged goods. Yeah. So that's the fear. So how do you liberate yourself? By saying, you know what? This is me. This happened to me. Yeah. I did not ask for it. I did not want it. I did not warrant it by wearing or being. All I was a happy child. Yeah. What wrong did I commit? Yeah. By being a happy, curious child? What wrong did I commit? Yeah. That was stolen from me in that moment. So I have to reclaim it. And the problem is that it's up to us. We are lucky if we have somebody in our lives to reclaim it for us. But guess what? If you have nobody in your life, you must reclaim it for yourself. And you must say, you know what? That wasn't my fault. And that doesn't mean that it makes me what I fear to be made. Because it wasn't my fault. It was not my fault. That what happened to me had nothing to do with me. And that's the truth of it. That's the truth of it at the end of it. What happened to me had nothing to do with me. And so I must reclaim myself, despite what happened to me. Despite the fact that maybe somebody will see, what's the fear? That somebody will see me as damaged goods. Well, you know what? Whoever sees me that way, I don't want around me anyways.
Yeah, not worth it.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Because at the end of the day, if I tell my truth and they see that, that's who I want in my life. Yeah. The person that sees me for me, not for what has happened to me, not for the choices that I've made, but that sees me for me. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Maybe what others will say, I've been promiscuous, meaning AKA slut, AKA cuero, right? Whatever it is that people want to call it, right? And yeah. Like, como dice el meme ese, si no me paga los biles, ¿verdad? ¿Qué importa? ¿Verdad que sí? Because si no me está pagando los biles, ¿qué importa?
¿Qué importa?
Because the one that has to live for me is me. The one that has to provide for me is me. And now I have a daughter. Guess who's taking care of my daughter? It ain't nobody else but me. Yes. So guess whose opinion matters? Mine. Yeah. Mine. Not anybody else. And that's where it starts. Yeah. That inner work starts in the opinion that you have for yourself and the opinion that you have about things and your circumstances. Because the only way that you're able to remedy and surpass your circumstances is by your opinion. Is by how you feel about it, how you look at it, and what you want to do with it. Yeah. Because circumstances could be shitty, right? Excuse the language, right? Circumstances could be bad. But it's about how you look at it. You could be very poor, but you could live the richest life in the world. Truly. Truly, honestly. And disclosure, I'm in the Dominican Republic right now, right?
Woohoo!
In
On
the Dominican
location from the
Republic. All right.
motherland.
Guess what? There's a lot of poor people here. A lot of poor people. I just visited a town that was very poor. But guess what? They have a little river in the back. And the kids were just jumping in that river and having the time of their life. I was sitting by that river, having a little beer with whoever it was, and they don't know any different because their whole reality has been that.
Yeah.
They don't know any different. They've never had air conditioner in their life. But they know how to get cool with the river, right?
Wow. There's so much
Right?
about being in the motherland
That's
that truly
perspective. Absolutely.
grounds you
Absolutely.
and helps you to really understand the things that we take for granted every day.
Absolutely. Because when
Oh,
you come to a place that has nothing, not nearly enough of what you have in the United States that we take for granted every day, you understand what life is really about.
yeah,
You come to understand that it's not about the amenities, because those are amenities that we have. Those are privileges that we have. It is not about that. It's not about our comfort. You have kids sitting in comfort complaining in the US, sitting in comfort. While these
yeah,
kids spend hot nights, sometimes they don't know if they're going to eat or not, yet they have animals that they give food to. They have friends and family in the town that if they have a bread, they split it with.
yeah, yeah,
Hungry in their belly, but they know that their friend is hungry too, and they split that bread.
yeah,
That's life. That's true essence of life,
yeah,
because that's what we're here to do in this planet, is to help each other. We're here for one another. We're not
yeah,
here alone. We're here
yeah.
to help and uplift one another. But it does depend on the circle that you have. Why? Because if it's somebody that's operating on a lower energy, you're going to be at a lower energy. So you do have
Truly.
to seek. You do have to seek to vibrate higher, as I say. You do have to seek to vibrate higher. Why? Because you create a bigger impact at a higher vibration than you do at a lower vibration. And
Fact.
that's why. For
Fact.
yourself and for others. For yourself and others.
Yeah. So, Lydia, take us through your healing journey. What did that look like and where did it take you?
Oh man, the healing journey, right? I mean, that has been strong. I mean, first of all, and like I say, I'm currently right now, it wasn't until very currently now that I actually have seeked a therapist myself to deal with the trauma that I've endured. So, healing for me has come in different ways. It's really about, it's really been about owning my power and owning myself and really valuing myself. I used to be somebody that's always been I've always been overweight. I'm still overweight now. I've always been overweight. Denise, when you met me, I was overweight. I got to a whooping 360 pounds. Why? And you know what? Somebody described to me very, very accurately. They said you were shoving down your emotions. That
Yeah.
is exactly what I was doing. Every time I felt anything, I would shove it down to shut myself up. I would shove it down with food. If I was happy, I would eat. If I was sad, I would eat. If I was troubled, I would eat. That's how I dealt with it at that point. So my healing journey was just really saying, is this how you want to treat yourself? Or do you want better? That's it. It was me looking at myself and saying, do you want better? Yeah, I do want better.
Was there like a rock bottom moment? Was there a moment that you said to yourself, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired?
I think that I'll be honest. I think that my pain, because I've always been a very positive person, I've subdued my pain for a very long time, if that makes sense. I always ignored my pain. Instead, I would suppress it.
Didn't
Instead, I
allow
wouldn't
you to
address
feel
it.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say that there was a rock bottom. It really got to the point where it was like, why did this keep happening to me? It was just a lot of bad moments,
Yeah.
bad partners, bad love escapes. and thinking to myself, why does this keep happening to me? Why do I keep doing this? Because it was me that allowed it. Nobody forced me. They weren't forcing me into it.
Yeah.
It just got to the point, why do I keep doing this to myself? It got to the point where I was like, you know, I was always had a high self-esteem despite everything, which is again part of how I covered up my pain in a way. Ironically, I had a high self-esteem. I always have had. I always thought of myself very highly. But then I engaged in habits that didn't appropriate my self-esteem. And so it just became to the point like, why do I keep doing this to myself? Why do I keep feeling like I need to compensate? You know, whether it was financially, if I was out just buying everything away for everybody, you know, kind of that's compensation. It could come in so many forms. Or, you know, being again promiscuous and allowing these guys to come into my life that weren't necessarily deserving because they didn't care about me. That's why somebody wasn't deserving. It wasn't whether they're financial or who they were. It was the fact that they didn't care about me. That's why they weren't deserving. They weren't deserving of me because they didn't care about me.
They didn't
right?
see you.
They didn't see me. They just, you know,
Yeah.
It was whatever it was. It was an experience. It was whatever I allowed. It's like, sure, I'll give myself to this person. It's not like, you know, and so it got to the point where it was like, stop doing that to yourself. You are more than that.
Yeah.
You know, this guy should not have had you. Should not get all this attention. No, you do not need to buy drinks for everybody, for people to like you, right? That kind of stuff. You don't need to be the center of attention, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to always prove anything and buy people into liking you or buy people's loyalty or affection. You know, again, like I say, for me, it's been different. I've been blessed just as much as I've had to endure different things. I have a great, amazing family. But even that family, you know, a great, amazing family and friends that have valued me, that loved me, right? So because of that, it's like, you're great. What are you doing? But again, it started with me. It's about how I felt about me.
Yeah.
Was I good enough? Was I great enough? And it was after I stopped that I saw who stays, who didn't, right? Who stayed, who didn't. Those are my real friends.
So did you get to a place where you said, I got this? I got this.
Yes, I got to a place.
I see me clearly and I can see ahead of me clearly. What did that feel like? What did that look like when that turning point came about?
You know, I said, you know, for me really is seeing other people in pain. Because like I say, very naively and very how do you say the word, like kind of like, I'll tell you this, my brother has always made fun of me, saying that I live through a rose-colored life, that I have rose-colored glasses on all the time.
Oh my God.
And I see life like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was me realizing that, you know what? Yeah, I do. I choose to see the life like that. And I chose it, and I learned to see life like that because of the pain that I went through. Because I chose to see that I was worth something. And then what came apparent to me is that not everybody has that.
No.
Not everybody has that.
There's a lot of cynicism, unfortunately.
That was a turning point for me. It was like, man, when people start telling me their troubles, or people start, I see people that have gone through, and not for nothing, that have gone through less than I have, but yet are so sad in their lives. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you better take a hold of your life. Yeah. Because you have no idea how bad it could get. And it was like this turning point where, and then those that have suffered, I just wanted to breathe life into them. I wanted to say it's okay. and you are not that experience, and you are not that what that person made you. And it was these moments of these different peoples, like, that I met, that, and really it wasn't even, I didn't even have to really have an encounter, because I'm very observant. I go into a room and I could read the room. I could read people's auras. You know, I'm also very intuitive. Let's start there also. You know, I have as they say, that third eye. I'm very intuitive. I'm very connected. And not everybody is. And it doesn't mean that one person can do it, not the other. Everybody has the capacity. Is if you open up to that realm, right? It's if you open up to your intuition. But I've always been very intuitive, right? I've been able, it's just like how they see people read auras, or people are able to see, you know, I can see different dimensions. I can see different planes. I can see people's auras. So I can see how I would just see somebody so sad, and I just wanted to uplift them. I just wanted to be like, gosh, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know, I've been through XYZ, yet, you know, and it's really giving, it was wanting to breathe life into people. That was my turning point.
That's
That
awesome.
I've been through what I've been through, but man, I don't ever want anybody to feel bad the way I could have felt. And I say could have because I didn't allow myself to feel that way. I did subconsciously, like I say, there was a disconnection with me, which is what life is, right? That's what most people is, which is why I'm in the profession that I do. It's to try to help people really navigate through those things, because we don't realize, and that's what happened to me. It was very confusing. It was like I was negative and positive at the same time, if that makes any sense. And
Yeah.
it doesn't really, like, if I try to verbalize it, no matter how many times I try to explain it, I can't. I felt strong and weak at the same time, all the time. That was just my trajectory all the time. I felt I had a good self-esteem while I had a bad self-esteem, all at the same time. It was very confusing and intermeshed, and it had to do with my fight. It was a struggle that I was having. It was an internal struggle all the time. It was a struggle about knowing who I am versus this reality and this life and what was done to me and what people have been telling me about me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like when things happened to me and I revealed it, I was shamed. I was shamed for a very large part of my life. So it had to be me struggling against this shame. I said, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right that this is my fault. How can you say that it's my fault? Like, it just didn't feel right. So I was always struggling with myself. I was always battling and fighting myself between low, high, low, high, low, high. And it was like, no, no. You know, I had to be strong, and I had to know my value, and I had to say no. I had to take a stand and say no. I had to find out what was true or not. And so that was, you know, being from that, it was seeing people go through pain that I felt was unnecessary, because it's like, you know what, stop. I wanted to guide people, because I went through the struggle that I went through, because I was able to surpass the struggle that I did. I wanted to guide people through the same.
So beautiful. Your work is needed. Our work is needed in the world.
It is. There's a lot more of pain than not.
So true. So I want to segue into the Deep 5 segment of our program, but I can't. I can't move into the next segment of the program without talking about the magic that you spoke of, which is your daughter, which is new life.
Yes.
And bringing new life into the world. What did that do for you?
Let me tell you the story about my daughter. Just let me tell you the story about my daughter when we're talking about a positive out of a negative. Let me tell you, I met this man 2 years ago, the father of my daughter. I met him literally 3 years ago. And he was somebody, we made an impact, we connected. and we, we were turbulent. So the truth is that I don't know where we would have ended up, but there was a lot of love, and the connection was strong. I mean, literally from the minute that we met, we wouldn't spend the day apart. The fact is that the father of my child died when I was 8 months pregnant. He died. He got a heart attack. He passed. It was by far the most painful thing that I've ever had to endure, despite everything that I've gone through. Because I've had different experiences before that. I've had some statutory rapes after I've had other experiences. I've had many infidelities, many traiciones, many, people that failed me after, between what my grandfather did at a very young age. I mean, this is before 4 years old that he did that to me, and everything in between through all my youth. I've had many other tragedies, but this was by far the biggest pain that I've ever endured, ever. Because I was happy. I thought that this is it, right? I thought, this is the man. This is my happily ever after. This is what I went through all this pain for in life. To finally be happy with this child and have this house and this husband, and right, the dream that we all have. And literally the rug was pulled out from under me. Literally. I mean, swoosh. I lost him at 8 months pregnant. I mean, literally to the date. He died July 28th. She was born 8/27. Literally 8 months. My baby shower was August 6th. I ended up burying him August 6th. The day that I was supposed to celebrate this beautiful life that I was growing in me. I'm telling you, when we talk about such beauty coming out of tragedy, that is my daughter. There was so much pain that I endured. And while I was pregnant with her, I had to force myself not to, honestly, I didn't get to mourn until after.
Excuse me. Did you feel like you lost your way in any way by losing him?
I lost everything in that moment. I lost my belief that I was deserving of happiness. I lost my belief that I was meant for any happiness at all. I lost, I felt like a lost child. Why do this to me? And pardon, it's a very real subject, but I lost very much everything. Yeah. But at the same time, the only thing that got me through that was my faith. Because I said, I have to be meant for more than this if I'm going through this. There has to be more than this for me.
Believe you are.
There has to be more than this for me.
Yes.
Because again, it was that same testament of that fighting spirit. Because that's what I go back to. Again, I go back to everybody to say, it all comes down to you. And what you believe about yourself, and the inner work that you have to do, and the belief that you have in yourself. It was me saying, I have to be more than this.
Yeah.
My life has to be better than this.
Yes.
You cannot tell me that this is all I deserve. I have to be more than this. I have to deserve more than this, because I questioned everything. I remember in the hospital, I asked for counsel, and I asked for somebody from the church, because I was so angry at God.
Yeah.
I was so angry. I said, I remember what I told her. I said, I did everything right. I did everything right. I did absolutely everything right in my life. I was a good daughter. I went to school. I got good grades. I didn't get into, wrong with the wrong people. I didn't wrong with the wrong crowds. I was always good. I always gave what I didn't have. I did everything right in life. Why?
Yeah.
But then there was my daughter. this beautiful little being. And if you ever saw her or met her, my gosh, you'll
I'd
understand.
love to.
I mean, honestly, anybody that met would meet her and knows what I went through can understand. Like this being, this beautiful being. I mean, she is just so, because I made sure I tried to. That's why I say I didn't mourn, because I was pregnant and I didn't want my daughter to feel any sadness. Can you imagine going through that? Do you understand what that takes?
Yeah.
Do you understand what it takes for you to be in such a position and not wanting to affect this being? Not allowing myself to cry too much. Not, especially when I was pregnant still. And then even after, because I was breastfeeding. And, all that stuff, all that energy passes along to them.
Yeah.
Not wanting to ever be sad around her so she doesn't feel it. It took a lot. It took a lot when all I'm doing is feeling like, I mean, come on, I'm mourning the death of her father, of the love of my life, of what I felt was my hope and my dreams.
Yeah.
But because I felt that was my hope and my dreams and it was taken from me, I said, there has to be more. This can't be it. How is this
It
it?
has to be.
There has
Yeah.
to be. And then there's this beautiful being. I mean, she is just so loving. She has the same love. She has, the same gracious smile and zest for life and just everything.
That's so amazing.
How
Well,
can, I have to protect it.
have you ever heard of the saying that life happens for you and not to you?
Yes,
And I
absolutely.
say that and I bring that forth from, from one woman to the next, from a sister to another, because for me, that affirmation, those words have anchored me so many times when I want to ask the why, right? Because when you say why, then you become the victim.
Right.
But when you understand that life is happening for you, then the question becomes, what do
Yes.
I need to learn from this?
Yes,
Rather than
exactly.
why. What do I need to learn from this?
Exactly.
And it completely shifts you from that victimhood into, again, being in that power and saying, there's something that I need to learn from this situation
Absolutely.
so that I can, walk through it and come, and get to the other side.
Honestly, and you couldn't have said it better with that, because it's really about life happening for you. And that's the way I had to understand what happened to me. Because the blessings, Denise, when I tell you the blessings that came from this man dying, honestly, not in a negative way, but honestly, I've had a multitude of blessings. The people that came out onto my life, trying to help me heal, the things and the opportunities, even my business. I was in the process of launching my business when I was with him, but it had a set date of October, and I launched my business after he passed. I mean, all of it just really, really honestly propelled me even further. And the blessings and the support, the immense support that I've received from everybody, from his family, from all his friends till this day. I did not have to worry about for anything for Amaya. I didn't have to feel like a single mother, like a single parent. I mean, honestly, it's a tribe that came out of this, more than I can ever imagine. And so that's when you turn your why to the what. When
Yeah.
you say, you know, this was what it was meant to be. And that propelled me. It was almost like, he was very encouraging the whole time. Like I say, I was working on this project while I was with him, and he was very encouraging, and he wanted the best for me, and he wanted to do everything possible to help propel me forward. And it's almost like his death was the best thing he could do to propel me.
Yeah.
As crazy as that sounds, because it gave me all the fire and fuel and inspiration and motivation that I could ever need to actually do what I need to do.
You know, a lot of people, and I'm going to include myself, believe, because I know I have believed at some point, that nothing good could come out of the passing of a loved one. But it has been my own journey, my own spirituality that has taught me this understanding that while our physical being is not around, you know, there is a passing or a crossing over, but the spirit is eternal. It is
Absolutely.
eternal. And that while you may grieve that person's absence, there is so much that can come out of positive, that can come out of that person's passing.
Let me
And
tell you.
never has that been true for me. And I understand when you say the blessings that you've received, because my mother passed away 2 years ago. And I just, first of all, I feel her presence with me often. I was just talking to my brother yesterday. We have this weekly check-in call with one another. And I was telling him how I dream about my mom all the time. And that's just so indicative of how she's still there, you know, in my consciousness, in my mind. Her spirit is with me, literally. But so much healing and so many lessons came from her passing that
Exactly.
I could not see otherwise.
Right.
That I could not see
Exactly.
otherwise.
Exactly. And that brings me to that. I couldn't have imagined this. I would have never imagined this. I would have never imagined this. But as much good as has come out of it, it's almost like you have to agree. Absolutely. This should have happened.
Yes.
And that is crazy. But yes, I mean, when you talk about, you see, so interesting. One of his most, he was very spiritual. And so one of the things that I can say that he left off, he would always say, energy never dies. It merely transforms.
Yeah.
That was one of
Fact,
his things all the time.
fact.
And I said that in his eulogy because I said, remember, and let me tell you, I feel this man in everyday part of my life.
Yeah.
I feel this man. I know that he is with me in a positive way, not in a possessive, like, negative attachment way, but in an entity that just honestly, energy never dies. It merely transforms. And and he walks with me to help me progress, to see that his daughter is well. He's so close to all his friends and his family because in living spirit, he was such a guidance to them that now in the other realm. So when I go back to saying how I see different dimensions, different realms, that's what I'm talking about. You know, I can see and sense the spiritual world always around me. My father died when I was very young, at the age of 8. There's never been a day that I miss him because he's always been with me. He's always guided me. My grandmother then passed. And through my whole pregnancy, my grandmother has been completely present. She was present through my pregnancy, through my daughter. I mean, honestly, energy never dies. We are this entity, and we go on. We may not see it, it may not be tangible to ourselves, but there are different dimensions, different planes, and where energy operates.
Yes.
And some of us may be intuitive to us, and we don't need to be. Honestly, we don't need to be intuitive to it, because it happens regardless of us knowing or not. just like us.
Yeah.
We are energy. And we came into this world, and we perhaps have been here before, or perhaps we'll be here after. Right?
Yeah.
We are this energy. We have intuition, and all of us can resonate with that.
Yes.
We've always been through a certain place or to a certain time or in certain different parts of our lives where we feel like we know what should be.
Yeah.
We know what should be, right? Not like we prophesize the future or understand. No, we understand what things should be, and we act upon them. And that's because we're energy and we're plugged in. We're all plugged in with each other, which is why ultimately the message is that we're all here for each other.
Yeah.
And we're all the same. And that's why uplifting one another is the best and biggest,
So important.
it's so important mission that we can commend to.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
everything else comes after that.
True. Well, I am going to take you into the Deep 5 segment.
Do it.
Okay. So, first question, what is a life lesson that you have had to learn the hard way?
A life lesson that I've had to learn the hard way. That I am who I am, and that I am here before and after everything that happens to me. We are who we are, and we are this. I mean, if you stand and you say I am, those are the most powerful words in the universe.
Yeah.
Those are the most powerful words in the universe. I am.
Yeah.
I am here. This is me. And the biggest lesson I've had to learn is who I am, despite what everybody else says. All my loved ones, all my naysayers, all my yaysayers, who I am.
Matters. Truly matters.
And only I know who that is.
Yeah.
Only I know who that is.
Beautiful.
Nobody can tell me what my happiness is, what my sadness is. Only I can. Even the person that loves me the most, it could be my mother who loves me the most. Because she has her opinions, she has her styles.
Yeah.
And I have to know who I am despite of that.
There's true power in that we get to define who we are and how we show up in the world.
We, not anybody else.
Yeah.
Not the person that gives you life even, but you get to define that. You. Yeah. And that is claiming your own power.
Thank you. What is the hardest thing you ever had to do in your life, and how did you overcome it?
Getting over my partner's death, by all means, and not allowing my daughter to feel the sadness. And how do I overcome it? By embracing her spirit. Not everything that came before it, but embracing the spirit. The power of now is very powerful. Of the moment, the power of being in the moment is very powerful, because in the moment is that you create. In the moment is that you heal the past and create the future. How do you do that? In a single moment. If you allow yourself to be absolutely free and happy in the moment, I assure you that your future is nothing but great. And your past is nothing but the past.
Yeah. That's so important. It's part of, practicing mindfulness, of being aware that this is the only thing that we have, that this moment is
this
all
moment
we
is
have.
it. That's it. Moment by moment. We have a satellite come in. Poof!
Yeah.
We're obliterated all across. Wow. We could have a bomb. Poof! Gone. I could have a heart attack. Poof! And that is what that's exactly what happened. We were happily along, had a heart attack. At any moment, it could be over. So guess what? is just your moment. So make sure you own it. Make sure you make it the best possible. Meaning that even if you're going through something bad, you see the positive. Why? Because you got to make it the best possible. Because it could be your last.
Yeah, so true. What legacy do you want people to remember you for?
Love your thyself. Know thyself.
Yeah,
That's what I want. Know thyself.
so important.
Know thyself.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite motivational or inspirational quote?
Know thyself.
Yeah.
That's actually that is written. That used to be written in the tombs, and not in the tombs, in the doorway of oracles past in ancient times. It was written in the entrance, know thyself. Because before you enter it, it was a warning, really. It was a warning, know thyself. Because after you enter the space is absolutely true and sacred, and everything that's going to come out of it is truth, whether you are prepared for it or not. And
Yeah.
so that's what know thyself meant. You really have to know what you want. Most of us think we know ourselves, or think we know what we want. We think we want riches. Is riches that you want, or happiness? And what does happiness look like to you?
Yeah.
What does happiness look like to you?
Yeah. So, what's one thing you would like to share with our sisterhood?
I have to say back to know thyself. And I know it's repetitive, but it is. It
It's
is
worth
to share.
repeating.
It's worth repeating. Know thyself. Because know who you are, know what makes you truly happy, and then own that power. Because you are capable of manifesting everything you desire. But you only could do that by really knowing what you want and being true to that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lydia, for your time, for being on vacation and taking time
Yes.
off to have a chat
Yes.
with me and to share your beautiful self, your light, your positivity, your
Thank you.
optimism, um, for just being true and so authentic, sharing yourself with our community. And I'm so looking forward to part 2. You
That's
gotta love it.
right.
So come back so you check it out, because we're going to be talking to Lydia again, and we're going to be diving deep about reaching heights
Yes.
and this beautiful movement that Lydia started, sharing positivity, optimism, empowerment for people, and obviously the pledge to pay it forward. That's so important.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
for all of you tuning in, this is Diving Deep with Denise. Check us out. I'm at Sarvatva in Instagram, also on YouTube as well. My website, denisecordero.com, and of course, reachingheightsllc.com.
That's
Check
right.
out Lydia's page as well and see what she's all about. You won't regret it. Thank you so much for tuning in to Diving Deep. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank